I am Father Tony, and I want to pay tribute and thanks to the parishioners who have participated in the rollout of these stations over the last few weeks. The stations indeed come from Athlone. 1954 they were installed. Their artist is Richard King. A biography last year was published about Richard. He was trained under the great Harry Clark, stained glass window expert, renowned for his expertise. But Richard himself has come into his own. Our little booklet, you may still have it at home, on the millennium, a parish for the new millennium, tells us that he got his inspiration from El Greco. My own copy of El Greco's paintings and his works show people with strong red and blue colours, elongated faces, often in confusion and pain. Here from the 1600 we have Christ carrying the cross. If you were to look at station number 1, it's nearly identical, the red and the blue. And the crown all the way through Richard's work. Each one of these stations has the corona, every one. And a matter of fact, it's central to each station. In a year when we have suffered the corona, as a people, as a global family, walked those stations unknowingly, we can now celebrate coming out at Easter from the darkness of Jesus' journey and our own journey. Corona means crown. And while it has been of thorns during Lent and during our past year, those crowns of thorns are now crowns of glory for those with an Easter faith. Because the resurrection is the touchstone of Christian faith. A Christian is one who believes that Jesus lives on after his death. We cannot treat this like normal history, investigating the assassination of President Kennedy. Paul and the evangelists, and I use Paul because he wrote first, they were surprised by the resurrection. They did not expect it. Even the history of Judaism, it was quite late. Daniel, indeed, in 166 BC, talked somewhat of a resurrection. But the Sadducees in Jesus' day did not believe in it. So it came as a shock. It's not as if they were fulfilling auto-suggestion that Jesus would rise again. It did shock them. They were broken. So the resurrection indeed tells us that there is another dimension. It cannot be investigated as if a coroner was looking into someone's passing away. It is of another dimension. He moves out of this world. It's not just the raising up of a mere corpse, a resuscitation back to what he was. This is a new Jesus, a glorified Jesus, living in the pneuma, in the Spirit. He still carries the wounds because he is still with us. But that's what we're celebrating indeed. You know, when I go into the hospital, I'm a chaplain in the Ulster, and a death has occurred, I read that piece of scripture indeed in the New Testament, that the Lord will transfigure these wretched bodies of ours into copies of his own glorious body. And it finishes, and he will do that by the same power with which he can subdue the universe. And as their loved one lies there deceased, it is very hard for the family in their loss, darkness, and grief. And so I give them that little image because, as I say, resurrection has to, in a sense, be used by analogy, by metaphor. And so I think of the caterpillar. I mean, it is an ugly creature. the little hairy, green, creepy thing among the dirt and the fallen detritus from the plants. The caterpillar, if you were to say to him, "You, my friend, will be the glory of the skies," as little children chase after you in your colourful sunny days, he would say, "Nah, get off. You're putting ideas into my head. Never." And yet, it's not for nothing that the ancient Greeks called the butterfly Psyche, because they saw what happened. The butterfly passes away, sheds its outer skin, its chrysalis, and emerges as, or the caterpillar passes away, and emerges as a butterfly. The transition is complete to glory, and he would never have believed it. And I pray at the bedside that their loved one who has just left them will be, through the power of baptism and faith and God's indeed grace, brought to a new life. It's goodness overcoming evil. It is the light overcoming the darkness. It is reality overcoming the void. And so, it's not the 15th station, but it is the celebration of resurrection. And I thank my people again for those great stations where the crown, the corona, is central to each station, right up to the end. We have in 13 Mary holding a massive crown. Go and study them yourselves. But my friends, that corona is now a corona of Easter 2021, when we have our saint in this parish, Columkill, otherwise known as Columba, who is being celebrated in this year, the 1500th anniversary, indeed. So we are people of resilience. We have come through Lent. We have survived the cross. I would like to leave you, indeed, on this Feast of the Resurrection with a line from Anne Frank, a child, not even a Christian, but one of our brethren in the Judeo-Christian tradition, who trusted in God and hoped that he would allow her words to continue, even if she were not. And he did. I leave you with this. It's a message that is uplifting and resilient and full of unspoken faith. In spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart. I simply can't build up my hopes on a foundation built on misery and death and confusion. Yes, I see the world gradually being turned into a wilderness. I hear the ever-approaching thunder, which will destroy us too, possibly. I can feel the sufferings of millions. And yet, if I look into the heavens, I think it will come all right. And that peace and tranquility will return again. I want to go on living after my death. And therefore, I am grateful to God for giving me this gift of being able to express all that is within my heart. The note says Anne died a few months later in Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. But she lives on in word. My friends, through baptism, we will live on in the word of life, of resurrection. A blessed and happy Easter to you all.